Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Victorious Ones podcast, a place where gaming meets comics, meets sports, meets movies, as well as inspiration. Of course, I'm your host, King Von Jr. You can follow me on social media on Twitter /X at 301 King Von Jr. Of course, you can follow the show's Twitter /X page at Victory Pod One. I'm also on Instagram at Mr. King Von Jr. Of course, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, you can also follow the show's Instagram page at Victorious Ones Podcast. I'm also the social media producer for the Unpopular View Wrestling Show, Perfect Plex Talk Radio, of course, which takes place on Mondays at 6 p.m., hosted by friend of the program, Mike Knox. And, of course, before I go any further, by the way, as I mentioned before, I have new merchandise, brand new shirt that's been unveiled. It's been on the site for a minute, but it's the official unveiling here on the podcast. Of course, it's a really cool DX/Run DMC shirt, HBK Triple H. Of course, it's called DX Runs WWE. Let me go and give you the link for that as well. I don't want to sound like I'm just doing a cheap pop, if you will, but check it out right there. There you go. VictoriousYones.BigCartel.com. That is the link to to get a shirt, especially with this being the holiday season. Like I said, cheap plug. But yeah, like I said, I'm just just showing them making different moves around here. You know what I mean? So of course, like I said, this DX runs WWE. Shirt, it's there, and of course, we'll make sure to have these in hoodie form as well. All you have to do is just pre-order. But yeah, like I said, of course, if you're on YouTube, go to youtube.com / Von Rest Virginia. Of course, please make sure, to like and subscribe for more content. And, support as we, inch closer to Thanksgiving, holiday and season, things like that, just the holiday season. Like I said, this is definitely the atmosphere for, for Survivor Series and War Games. And of course, I'm also going to go to the lineups for War Games as well. Of course, I'm going to give a recap of the week of wrestling as well as the NFL recap. Of course, I like to get the scores, and it was definitely quite a week in the NFL. Yeah, so sorry about that, but yeah, like I said, as far as that. Let's see these scores. Sorry about that. Yeah, so anyway, NFL. So this is week 11. I want to say this. Yeah, so things NFL 11 that just passed, and so here is the rundown of this past weekend. It's NFL Week 11. And so of course, like I said, of course, it is the recap of Week 11. On Thursday, November 14th, Thursday Night Football, the Eagles defeated the Commanders 26-18 at home in Philly. And of course, on November 17th, the Dolphins defeated the Raiders 34-19. Also, of course, the Saints destroyed the Browns at home 35-14. The Colts defeated the Jets 20-27. And the Jets certainly made a great comeback. At first, it was out of reach, but the Jets definitely found a way to storm back. And of course, we have the Vikings defeat the Titans 23-13. Then, of course, we have the Packers. The Packers defeat the Bears 20-19. The Lions just just grilled the Jaguars 52-6. Rams defeat the Patriots 28-22. Steelers defeat the Ravens 18-16. A very close game, and of course it was won, just by Steelers won by nothing but field goals, consecutive field goals. Of course, Russell Wilson, look for ways to sort of turn back the clock. He looked very impressive even without having any touchdowns. But of course, it's more so the defense as well as field goals that ultimately won the game. And Justin Tucker just looked out of sorts, just looked very out of character in that game. Of course, with that, the Steelers capitalized on that, win 18-16. Then, of course, we have the Seahawks defeat the 49ers 20-17. The Broncos just ran all over the Falcons 38-6. The Bills won a classic game, the game of the week, you know, um, as they defeat their arch nemesis, playoff arch nemesis, the Kansas City Chiefs, 30-21. Josh Allen had pretty much had the game of his career, and of course it's fascinating because heading into the season, uh, there was a news story that broke on First Take where they said that most NFL players voted Josh Allen as the most overrated quarterback, right? Which is very insulting, by the way, especially when you hear that from your own peers. The very players that you go to war against, for 18 weeks, for 17 games, and to know that they put that type of vote out there, the same players that you have to look in the eye, whether you're competing against them, like I said, whether competing against them or showing some type of sportsmanship before or after the game. Same ones, they smile in your face and you end up backstabbing you, with stuff like that. Of course, Josh Allen made the haters, actually not only eat their words, but maybe choke on their words with this win. So of course, like I said, congratulations to the Bills. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Chargers defeat the Bengals 34-27 on Sunday Night Football. Monday Night Football, it was abysmal, disgraceful as the Texans defeat the Cowboys 34-10. The downfall of Dallas continues. As it's definitely time for, like I said, if anything, it's more than enough time for the Cowboys to officially hit the reset button, because with this, they're going absolutely nowhere with the way this season's been going. And of course, like I said, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Like I said, so as far as that, that's neither here nor there. And so now, close out like these windows. It's making my computer run a bit slower, but that's that's a whole nother story right there. But yeah, hold on. Let's see. All right, so now it is time to go into the week that is known as professional wrestling. Actually, you know what? Before I go even further, I have to say that of course, in entertainment news, Denzel Washington has really been outside lately. He has been living his best life. Making the rounds, if you will, when it comes to the promotion of this Gladiator 2, and I am very excited for it. I know that it's going to be amazing. I know that it's not going to disappoint whatsoever. You know what I mean? And so of course, I mean, he's been at the time of his life, even at a red carpet premiere with IGN. He even took the interviewer's microphone. Like one of the IGN reporters, and he ends up doing his own interviews. He interviewed with Derek Luke, who was the star of Antoine Fisher, the very first film that Denzel directed. So for him to if anything, for him to do that, and like I said, I mean that was amazing. And he's going out and giving wisdom to these younger up and coming actors, and just sharing his own experiences. And it was amazing to find out that he had not auditioned for a role in over 40 years. I mean, but then again, this is like I said, of course, then again, this is Denzel we're talking about. And so I mean, but like I said, just to hear him become more candid, about his career, about his journey, and what has made him who he is now, and to see him show love and appreciation to his wife, the queen of his castle. Shout out to Miss Pauletta, by the way, and of course, shout out to their children, and just who they've become, and so it's very evident that he has instilled, and both of them have instilled so much wisdom into them, and that fruit is definitely manifested. That is definitely being shown. And so of course, like I said, I can't wait to see that. And the thing is, there's a difference. He's an example. There's a huge difference between actors and movie stars. This dude is a straight up movie star. And if you don't know already, he's definitely going to carry this movie, and I look forward to it. You know what I mean? And of course, it's definitely going to be, definitely be quite the Thanksgiving treat, if you will. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I'm looking forward to. I'm anticipating. I know we'll be very excited. I know it's not going to disappoint whatsoever at all. So of course, as far as that, um, and also, I just saw tap into as well, if you will. Um, apparently, Pro Football Weekly also also released a list of at least 25 names for that they're up for eligibility. Up for eligibility for the Hall of Fame class of 2025. 25 modern era players were named today as semifinalists. Excuse me. It's from Adam Schefter. 25 modern era players were named today as semifinalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2025. 4 to 8 will be selected from this list. So the list reads as quarterback Eli Manning, linebacker Luke Kuechly, wide receiver Steve Smith Sr., safety Earl Thomas, kicker Adam Vinatieri, defensive end Jared Allen, linebacker Terrell Suggs, tight end Antonio Gates, guard/tackle Marshall Yanda, linebacker James Harrison, defensive tackle Vince Wilfork, offensive tackle Willie Anderson, wide receivers Torrey Holt, Anquan Bolden, and Reggie Wayne, guard Jari Evans, safety Rodney Harrison, cornerback Eric Allen, defensive end Robert Mathis, running back Fred Taylor, wide receiver Hines Ward, running back Ricky Waters, offensive tackle Richmond Webb, guard Steve Wisniewski, name sounds familiar, and of course safety Darren Wilson. So that is quite the list. And of course there are a number of names that have been long overdue, or at least names I hadn't really seen before. I know Darren Woodson is definitely long overdue in my estimation. I may have seen Ricky Waters a time or two, on this list. Hines Ward has showed up before. This might be Fred Taylor's first year. I'm not sure. Eric Allen, I'm not sure this is his first time showing up on the list. But, of course, somebody who's talking about long overdue. Actually, of course, we got because of his time with Eagles and later on, as well as the Raiders. Of course, you have Rodney Harrison, multi-time Super Bowl champion with the Patriots. You have Reggie Wayne, of course, legendary wide receiver with the Colts. Like I said, firmly fully associated with, with the likes of Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, and Edgerrin James, who are all Hall of Famers as well. Excuse me. Of course, you have Anquan Bolden, from Raven, and Arizona Cardinals as well. Torrey Holt of the legendary Great Show and Turf St. Louis Rams offense. Of course, you have Kurt Warner, Isaac Bruce, and Marshall Faulk all in the Hall of Fame. So it's just like, why not finish the story, complete that collection, right? And of course, Adam Vinatieri, he's got to go in. He's that conversation, if not the GOAT himself for the longest time when it comes to kickers. So as far as who I would pick, I know I had my list already. But yeah, if anything, as far as the names, I'm certainly looking at Antonio Gates as one of them. Somebody who should have been in the Hall of Fame already. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to waste anybody's time. I don't want to be long-winded about this whatsoever at all. But yeah, as a matter of fact, here's my 8 choices, right? Torrey Holt, Antonio Gates, Darren Woodson, Adam Vinatieri, Earl Thomas, Jared Allen, Rodney Harrison, and Hines Ward. So those are my 8 choices. It's between 4 to 8. So those are the 8 that I'm going with. Torrey Holt, in my estimation, just because it only makes sense that you include him to complete that story, if you will. Like, you can't tell the story of the Rams 1999 season, that era, the greatest show on turf. You can't tell that story without him. Even though Isaac Bruce, I would say, was, I think many people say, was a superior receiver. But he was, but Torrey Holt was not a slouch himself, right? Of course, like I said, Kurt Warner, being the quarterback that he was, Super Bowl champion, two-time, Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, two-time league MVP, excuse me, one-time Super Bowl champion, one-time Super Bowl MVP, and two-time league MVP. I believe he's been the league leader in passing as well. You know what I mean? So of course, like I said, that speaks for itself. Marshall Faulk. With Marshall Faulk, I mean, what else do you expect? You know what I mean? I mean, that's Marshall Faulk. He's already in the hall. So I think that it only makes sense, to finish that story and really tell it the way it needs to be told by adding him in there. Antonio Gates, he's a tight end legend, especially with that Chargers offense, with the likes of Philip Rivers, LaDainian Tomlinson, you know what I mean, and just like I said, I mean, he was very electrifying, if you will. Of course, Darren Woodson, Cowboys legend, strong safety, 3-time Super Bowl champion. You know what I mean? It's just like he was an integral part of that defense. He was definitely an anchor, especially when it came to the secondary standpoint. And so I feel like that is, he's long overdue when it comes to that. Adam Vinatieri, like I said, in my estimation, is like the GOAT when it comes to kickers. Earl Thomas, I mean, what else needs to be said? Jared Allen, come on, one of the top defensive ends of his generation. Rodney Harrison, multi-time champion. Hines Ward, numbers speak for themselves. So those are my top 8 choices when it comes to when it comes to the finalists, for the 2025 Hall of Fame. But all right, now, as I've said before, I've said it again. Now it is time to go into this thing that we call wrestling. So, of course, last week, Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn, and the Usos reunited as the original Bloodline, as mentioned before in the last episode of the podcast. They issued a challenge to Solo's supposed Bloodline for a War Games match, but neither of them had their 5th member, at least yet, at this point. So of course, we saw both teams make plans for the PLE. That's just over 2 weeks away. Well, now it's about to be a week away. But of course, there's definitely a lot of action to fill those gaps. Like as far as Friday night, where the Motor City Machine Guns defend the tag titles against the Street Profits, and Nia Jax put the women's title on the line against Naomi. A great match, by the way. Even for Friday Night SmackDown, I mean, it definitely exceeded expectations, and so Nia and Naomi definitely have their own, sort of like personal rivalry. I mean, look no further than social media, look no further than their Twitter war, if you will. You know what I mean? Of course, starting off with that B-Fab versus Bayley versus Candice LeRae in a triple threat match. Bayley wins, but I would say that the B-Fab, if anything, was very impressive. And of course, all she has to do is just have more ring time. I think that she would improve over time. And so I'm glad to see that she's doing more than just being a manager, because when she was with Hit Row, never got in the ring. And of course now she's teamed up with the Street Profits for the longest time. Hadn't had any type of action whatsoever. You know what I mean? And so so of course, as far as that, like I said, it's great to see her be more involved. Of course, Nick Aldis announced, said that the pile driver have been banned in WWE for years, but apparently that doesn't apply to the Tombstone variation, the Tombstone pile driver. Of course, that's because the legendary Phenom, The Undertaker, that was his finishing move. So of course, they were not going to ban that version of it. Even though even though it could ban that inverted Tombstone, the one that Owen did on Stone Cold, back in SummerSlam '97. It's a whole other story right there. But even though I do remember there was a match, as I said before, in 2013 with CM Punk versus John Cena on an episode of Monday Night Raw. Where Punk did the pile driver. I want to say Cena, matter of fact, as far as matter of fact, it was one of the best matches of Raw, probably like all time at this point. But yeah, as far as that, other than that exception, apparently the power driver has been banned for years. Never pay attention to it, to be honest. But yeah, other than that, it was very impressive showing in the beginning when it came to the triple threat match with Bayley, Candice, and B-Fab, and just you see how veterans like Bayley and Bayley and Candice definitely carried B-Fab in this match and made it look better. Then we have LA Knight versus Berto, and Berto, of course, and Berto Korea. And so the winner, of course, the winner of this match by way of pinfall with the BFT was LA Knight. But of course, LA Knight and Berto, definitely had great chemistry. But however, as LA Knight was celebrating, he gets hit with an unexpected surprise with the return of Shinsuke Nakamura, who blindsides him with an attack. And Nakamura is wearing all black. It's like a Japanese Undertaker type of thing, very much like Great Muta without the face paint, and like somebody, I saw somebody one of the comments on Perfect Plex, comparing to a Sith, and Nakamura did look like a Sith from Star Wars, like Samurai Sith or something, Japanese Sith or whatever, Samurai Sith and Japanese Sith. Right, and so it definitely did give Sith vibes. Did give going to the dark side, Empire, type of vibes, and and of course, it was great. Like it was great to see Shinsuke Nakamura make his return, especially since he's been on the radar, off the radar for the longest time. And of course, I know there are a lot of enthusiasts, that talk about his matches in Japan, but I can barely name, how many. I can pretty much count on one hand, not using all my fingers. How many people really watch Japanese wrestling? There are a lot of people who claim that they are somehow like New Japan zealots or super fans and stuff like that, but I highly doubt that that they watch as much Japanese wrestling as they claim that they do, but like I say, of course, it's neither here nor there. It's great to see, somebody else, become LA Knight's next adversary. So if it isn't Melo to take the belt off him, I would like to see Nakamura do. Even though LA Knight has definitely been making a name for himself, especially with his mic skills, really being his strongest point. But it's just like it's not really moving the needle with me like that as far as his title reign. So of course I'm looking to see Nakamura be the one to dethrone. Next up, we have the Motor City Machine Guns versus the Street Profits. Of course, the winners by way of DQ are the Street Profits. And so of course the second three title match took place when the Street Profits challenged Motor City Machine Guns for the tag titles. And so of course Tommaso Ciampa attacked the Street Profits to cause disqualification. Of course, Johnny Gargano tried to be the peacemaker, but of course Ciampa just shoved him to the mat and walked away. Of course, this is where we start seeing the seeds being planted for a DIY breakup on the main roster, just like how it was on NXT. So of course, only a matter of time before these Ciampa and Gargano start having their own trilogy on SmackDown or whatever. And of course, we also see James telling Roman Reigns that he need to make a call to someone. But of course, he didn't reveal who it was. And so of course, the plot thickens, the plot continues. And it's funny how I make the transition after saying that, because we have Nia Jax versus Naomi, so I kind of set myself up with that one. But yeah, of course we have this match, and when I say that they're definitely great dance partners for each other, I mean it. And it looked like, Nia definitely had her back up against the wall. Naomi certainly made sure to give Nia a run for her money. You know, I definitely like the chemistry that they have, and you could tell that they're definitely having fun in the ring, having fun in the ring. Especially that there's a spot where when Naomi is dancing on Nia's back, not just her back, you know, behind. But yeah, what I mean, and of course after that, Nia hits to the clothesline, or like just picks her up and like toss her across the ring, or whatever. I mean, and so of course, we saw like I said, this is the main event match when Naomi challenged Nia for the women's championship. It was very convincing. You almost thought that Naomi was going to take the title. And of course, Tiffany Stratton came out with Jax, but did not go with her to the ring. Of course, Naomi had dropped it right away, but it was very little to prevent Nia from ramming to the corner. And of course, in the first few minutes, we mostly saw Nia beating up Naomi, but the Queen of Glow began to make a comeback with a suicide dive right before the commercial. And of course, Nia Jax had the best year of her career in 2024, and this was definitely one of the more entertaining matches to add to her catalog. And then, and meanwhile, we saw Raquel Rodriguez, Liv Morgan attacking Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill backstage. Not long after that, about a moment later, Tiffany Stratton shows up and tries to interfere to give Jax the upper hand. Of course, Baylor arrived to take out Tiffany Stratton, and Naomi almost won with a split-legged moonsault, only for Candice LeRae to show up and shove Bayley into the ring post when Nia finished off Naomi with the Annihilator. Even though most of the match was great, but and then like pretty much felt like a Bloodline match. Just way too much going on, very convoluted, whatever. And so the way that the Bianca and Jade treat Bayley is pretty fair due to due to what Bayley's history with Bianca was in the past with Damage Control, and but meanwhile Naomi just ignores that because because of the fact that she wasn't even though Bianca told her about Bayley's history. The thing is, pretty much the way make Naomi seem like just oblivious to it, because of the fact that Naomi still remembers Bayley for who she was before she herself ended up leaving in 2022. So of course, the bottom line is Naomi still remembers Bayley anytime before before 2022, before all that stuff happened. So of course that's why she just kind of ignores it. Like as far as that, if anything, I think it kind of seems like Naomi wants to be more the peacemaker than anything else. And so of course, the way that Nia swung Naomi around the ring was very impressive. Of course, to prove how much of a powerhouse, continues to prove how much of a powerhouse that she is. And I definitely like Nia's head, but of course, but of course, like I say, it's still a great match. And so as SmackDown came to an end, Roman was shown trying to call Paul Heyman, only to find out that the number was disconnected. And at the end, that's when they showed the close the credits. Executive producer Paul Beck and some other name, whatever. I'm like, wow, they definitely made it feel like cinema. Made it feel like like actual TV show, just for them to show credits like that. Something they never did, other than when they show like the all rights reserved, copyright, the logo in the bottom left or right hand corner, that kind of thing. But for them that to actually show, for the show, to end like that, outside the ring. I was like, I definitely applaud them for that. And so now it's time to go into the results for Monday Night Raw. And by the way, this past week, Triple H announced that Travis Scott will be at the Intuit Dome when Monday Night Raw makes his Netflix debut on January 6th in Los Angeles. So officially, at the beginning of 2025, Monday Night Raw will be on Netflix. And the very first episode on Netflix will be in Los Angeles on January 6th. So there you go. There you have it. Monday night Netflix. So there you go. Wrestling and chill, if you will, right? But yeah, and of course, like so that's monumental. And of course, we can continue to see, as the bloodline turns, if you will, in their speculations that that The Rock would be, sorry about that, of course, there's speculation that The Rock, that The Rock could be the mastermind behind this new bloodline, because there was a video on Twitter of Tama Tonga going like this for his entrance, and then they also showed show The Rock at night one WrestleMania 40 doing the same thing right before he put the one up, and just those little Easter eggs right there is just very intriguing. It's in terms of the story, this long-term storytelling. Well, of course, The Rock promised that it was going to be, going to be quite the journey, and of course, speaking of that, especially with the numbers that came in for this Christmas movie that they just came out with. We supposed to, Chris Evans are both playing elves. It was like The Rock and Captain America being elves. Like nobody's gonna buy that. And in the movie, what was it, like 25, 30 million or something? I know it had 36% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that movie was horrible. It's garbage. So you got definitely be seeing more of the final bosses. I wish he would stop playing our face with these really bad Christmas movies. Because you already know, he already knows what we all want anyway, ultimately in the long term, especially with it being in Vegas. Let's get this Rock vs. Roman thing finally off the ground. Come on, let's, like I said, let's accelerate this road to War Games, ultimately going down the road to WrestleMania. Because April is right around the corner. But yeah, of course, as far as the results, from Monday Night Raw. And also another thing is shout out to Stephanie Hardy from the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. As you pointed out, how Liv Morgan on Instagram played. As a matter of fact, of course, just after her Raquel attacked, of course, after her Raquel attacked Bianca and Jade, how Liv played the song Like That with featuring Kendrick Lamar, Future, Metro Boomin, and especially with the line where Kendrick says, "F the big three, it's all about me," and so clearly Liv was taking shots at the big three being of course Bianca, Jade, and Naomi, and for her to say, for to use that line that says, like F the big three is big me, and so really that's, if it's all about you, then then you don't need any help from your bodyguard, your muscle, Raquel, nor from nor from your boyfriend, your plaything, Dominic, right? Or from the rest of the group. So if you are, you say that you are, then why do you need any type of help, right? Especially with the way that she beat Nia Jax, that was straight up disgraceful. But that's neither here nor there. But of course, Monday Night Raw opens up with a bang. We see Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez come into the ring. And of course, Liv Morgan said that she knew Jay Cargill and Bianca were in the building, but she brought backup, which led to Nia Jax, Temu Stratton, and Candice LeRae joining her. So of course, that's the official War Games team up. That's the official. That's their official War Games lineup of Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. So of course, so Jax said that she doesn't think about Liv and Raquel at all, but she thinks about Bianca, Jay, and Naomi, which brought that trio to the entrance themselves. So of course, as soon as Nia mentioned their names, of course, he had the big three. And of course, as I like to call them, the Destiny Child wrestling, pretty much, right? And they said that they had their own backup before before being joined by none other than the genius of the sky herself, Io Sky. Then again to the ring with Liv, where of course Liv point, I'm saying of course, with Liv pointing out that they were still outnumbered. Then this led to the surprise return of none other than Rhea Ripley, with the same face mask and nose guard that NBA players wear when they have a broken nose. You know, the same type of face mask that we've seen Kobe and LeBron wear, and many other players wear whenever they had some type of injury, you know, to the noses that, you know, or to their eye. You know, that's usually what they would wear. But it was, you know, of course, the thing is, it was super clear anyway, so it really didn't matter. So Rhea wasted no time at all. As soon as she storms into the ring, she rushed up to Liv and says "War Games" and hits her with a headbutt. And this where, you know, this where the faces ran off the heels. This is where, you know, this is where Team Rhea, Bianca, Jade, Naomi, and Io ran off the other team. So the women's War Games teams are official. So we have we have Nia Jax, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae versus Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, Rhea Ripley, Naomi, and Io Sky. So it has been made official. It has become solidified, if you will. The next step, we have Bronson Reed versus Seth Rollins. And the winner of this match, Bronson Reed, by way of pinfall. At the start of the match, we see Tonga Loa, Tama Tonga, and Jacob Fatu come out and circle the ring. Next up, we see the Usos and Sami Zayn come out to run them off, following up on earlier in the show when Rollins once again refused the group's pleas to join them inside War Games against all the Skulls' new Bloodline. And like I said, this was early on the show, and this was, matter of fact, I'm gonna say it right here. This segment right here definitely drew a huge point of contention online, because early in the show, Seth Rollins had been confronted, or at least he had been approached by Sami Zayn Usos to join them as the fifth man for War Games. And this is where Seth Rollins just threw a tantrum, a tirade, as he once again refused their plea to join them inside War Games against Solo's new Bloodline. And this is the part where it says, and this is where Seth says that he can't stand next to Roman Reigns, knowing what will happen if Reigns ends up on top again. Saying he would never, ever join forces, and his word right here, a tyrant. He said, I refuse to team up with a tyrant like Roman Reigns. And this is, it's funny because this past Monday was the 12-year anniversary of the Shield's debut. And this, like I said, this is definitely something that really just, just blew up, just went viral. And I want to give a shout out to Bloodline Ty28 for bringing this up. She quote tweets the video where Seth Rollins, just fed up. He says refuse under any circumstances to team up with Roman. Call him a tyrant and all that stuff. Anyway, of course, shout out to Bloodline Ty 28, where she quote tweets this and says, "I find it so weird. He's acting like he is the victim. I really do, And this is where I chime in response, and he's Hall of Fame Gaslight. A lot of people who agree with her, myself included, about the fact that Seth Rollins had the nerve, the audacity to call out Roman for being a tyrant, for being this evil super villain, all kinds of stuff like that, because he's been the tribal chief. But this is the part where I'm definitely gonna clip this. Last time I checked, Seth Rollins, you were the one who broke up the Shield. You were the one who turned your back on Roman. Roman never turned his back on you. So, like I said, this is the point where this is where I really have to, you know, have something to say about this, because of the fact that, how dare he try to be some type of moral compass and moral authority for the way that Roman handles business. The only time Roman is, of course, granted, the only time Roman gaslights is with his family, the way that he used to gaslight Jey Uso. All right, he was the villain there. He was the villain when it came to Kevin Owens, right? However, when it comes to specifically this feud with Seth Rollins, Roman is not the villain at all whatsoever. Because, like I said, last time I checked, Roman never turned his back with Seth. Roman was not the one who broke up the Shield. Roman was not the one who nailed Seth in the back with the chair. Seth was the one. As soon as Triple H and Randy Orton came out and said, "There's always a plan B," Seth was the one standing further away in the corner with a chair, ready and waiting, and nailed Roman with a chair to break up the group. That was Seth Rollins that did that. That was Seth Rollins. That was the Judas of the Shield, not Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns did not hit Seth in the back of the chair to side with the authority. You want to talk about tyrants? The authority with the original tyrants, right? And as a matter of fact, there was this video that matter of fact, that shout out. Matter of fact, there was even a video that that really went in great detail about this as well. And I definitely, and of course, because of that, that just just further solidified my reasoning of wanting to talk about this, because this is absurd. Like how dare Seth Rollins virtue signal and make Roman look, like I say, make Roman look like the villain in this circumstance when he's not. As I said before, the authority with the original tyrants, long before Roman ever became the tribal chief. So Seth made sure to be the architect in that. He made sure to put himself on that side of history. Like I said, Roman was not the one who broke up the Shield. Roman was not the one who hit Seth and Dean with chairs. Last time I checked, not only did Seth Rollins break up the Shield, not only did he stab his Shield brother in the back with a chair, but when Seth won Money in the Bank and cashed in at WrestleMania to become WWE champion, it was Roman Reigns that he cashed in on and hit the curb stop, not Brock Lesnar. Seth went after Roman Reigns specifically to cash in, hit the curb stomp, and pin for the title, and pulled the red carpet out from under Roman that night. It was Seth Rollins that did that. Roman never did that to him. Roman never cashed in a briefcase to steal Seth's moment, to steal a highlight from Seth Rollins, right? Roman never did those things. And then when Seth Rollins goes out and blows out his ACL, MCL, whatever, and of course ultimately misses WrestleMania 32 in Dallas, right? Roman go on. Roman would eventually later go on to become WWE champion himself, right? And so while he's having his run as the big dog, originally Roman and Seth we're actually going to have a match together. But that's when Seth got injured. Of course, with the ACL injury, MCL injury, whatever. So of course that, and because of that, Roman ends up, like I said, ends up becoming WWE champion, and then he ends up defeating Dean Ambrose. And so, the thing is, so of course, after that, guess who comes in to pedigree Roman Reigns and take the title away from him? Seth Rollins, right? So here we are. Not only does Seth break up one of the most legendary groups of all time, not only is he responsible for that, not only does he cash in and steal Roman's thunder at WrestleMania, not only does he snatch the title away from Reigns after coming back from an injury, right? And so, and thing about it is that, like I said, because of that, because of that, Seth Rollins clearly has a track record of, especially, especially going after Roman. If Roman, for the longest time didn't even do anything to bother this guy, there's always Seth wanting to, like I said, wanting to get on his case, be on his heels, right? And later on, Seth wants to talk about, it's the monster that he created. Well, no does Sherlock. No crap Sherlock. You know what I mean? And how you continuously find ways to make things difficult for Roman, just to be a thorn in his side for the sake of it, and, of course, during this time, like I said, of course, this when Roman was just constantly being booed. And of course, like I said, eventually, later on down the line, he eventually becomes the tribal chief, and and kicks off a very transcendent, legendary run, right? And of course, like I'm going to get into the rest of Monday Night Raw, but this right here is my main point of contention. If anything, So, but sorry about that. But yeah, but of course, Roman was just minding his business. He wasn't out here, to of course, to bother anybody. Of course, at that time, even as far as that, he wasn't going out his way to bother Seth, even as the tribal chief. And so, so of course, as far as that, like I said, after their initial feud, of course, after Seth had, cashed, after Seth had, beat Roman at Money in the Bank. Actually, no, yes. Sorry about that. Yeah, actually, that's let me retract things with the Money in the Bank thing. Seth had just come back. They finally had the match. Eventually, Seth will end up winning in his return match. Only later on for Dean Ambrose to be the one to cash in. So so of course we see them both go their separate ways, and of course as Seth was slowly becoming a fan favorite, while the crowd continued to boo Roman, and of course WrestleMania 33, was really tough because of the fact that that Roman had defeated the Undertaker, and he just received an even bigger shower of boos. Meanwhile, of course, Seth Rollins was just having a feud with Triple H, was more so more of a student versus pupil type of thing. But anyway, fast forward to 2020, Roman's heel turn happens, and it goes on to become a game changer, becomes a tribal chief. Just reaches legendary status. Just the trajectory of his career forever changes because of this. But can it really be a heel turn or something like that? Like I say, even though it's a heel, even though he's a heel more so to his family, but at the same time, when it comes to the number standpoint, this dude, definitely achieved his purpose. met, if not exceeded expectations when it came to becoming John Cena's successor and becoming the face of the company, right? So this is the trajectory that Roman is on, right? Meanwhile, Seth is Monday Night Messiah and all this type of stuff like that, whatever, right? But then, of course, as the story goes on, Roman, going to have, feuds with, with people like, like with the likes of Braun Strowman, Daniel Bryan, KO. Matter of fact, they had a great triple threat match at WrestleMania where we pinned both Bryan and Edge at the same time. And so of course, everything's going cool. Up until he meets up with Seth Rollins for their match of the 2022 Royal Rumble. And then even with the buildup of that, right? Seth was supposed to be the quote unquote face just because Roman naturally as a tribal chief, people saw him as the heel. So of course, in this case, I would say that's the exception because even though as I said before, Roman was the heel to everybody else, but in this case, he's more of a face. And Seth was, was adamant on playing mind games and trolling Roman to the point where Seth even came out with a Joker suit, like the purple suit, green tie, just like the Joker, right? And of course, he did that on purpose. And so, and of course, like I said, of course, a lot. But anyway, Seth was just using a bunch of mind games on Roman, because he knows how much it really gets under Roman's skin. He knows how much that breakup of the Shield got under Roman's skin. He knows that, but yet in this situation, Seth was supposed to be the face, but Roman's the bad guy in this. That ain't right. I'm not with that. I'm not with that whatsoever. And with the way that Seth, antagonized Roman, taunted him, said things to embarrass him, calling him a joke, calling his, title reign a joke, saying he's a joke to his family, all those type of things. That is not what a babyface does. Seth's approach in this feud with Roman was not babyface at all whatsoever. Not at all. If anything, I was on Roman's side. I really wanted him to beat Seth with a pin, 1, 2, 3, all kinds of stuff like that. I wanted him to put Seth away. Because like I said, even though Roman was the heel to everybody else, but in this case, Roman needed to get his clap back on Seth Rollins. He needed to get his clap back on him. And so so of course, when we get to the Royal Rumble, Seth Rollins comes out with the Shield gear, even with the Shield's music, even with the Shield music coming out in the audience, just like the Shield, Shield used to, and just like I said, just getting Roman's skin. And the thing is, this, like I said, this was not babyface at all. As far as Seth's approach, that's what heels do. Seth, taunting Roman, trolling him, embarrassing them, calling him a joke, and sprays all kinds of stuff like that, and just playing mind games. That's not a babyface at all whatsoever. So in this instance, Seth Rollins was definitely the villain. And and the thing is, Roman never did those things to Seth. I know it's natural to point the finger at Roman and blame him for any and everything these days, or really all throughout his career. It's like Roman's just an easy scapegoat for so many people. Right? But in this case, Roman was absolutely in the right. Seth Rollins was absolutely in the wrong. Because, as I said before, Roman, I keep saying over and over, Roman, he never turns back on Seth. He never joined the Authority. He never cashed in to become a champion and steal Seth's moment. As a matter of fact, last time I checked, Seth was the one who broke into Edge's home, and made his family feel uncomfortable. And you want to talk about, a violation. Last time I checked, Roman never broke into anybody else's house. He never broke anybody's house. Um, Seth also ripped Rey Mysterio's eye out. Stuff like that. Never seen Roman, remove a body part from anybody. So you've never seen Roman dismember anybody whatsoever. I'm like, come on now. So it's just like, how dare Seth try to be the moral authority and call Roman a tyrant and vilify him, when Seth has his own rap sheet that's just bad, if not worse. Like I said, the worst that Roman's really done more so was with family treatment, and any other rivalries, like I said, with Rey Mysterio, Kevin Owens, Daniel Bryan, anybody like that, right? Like in those instances, yeah, Roman's naturally the bad guy. But in this case, nah, Seth was dead wrong about that. And then even with the build up to WrestleMania 40, that Seth would team up with Cody to try to take down Roman Reigns, and for him to strategically side with Cody on his quest to dethrone the tribal chief. He tells Cody that tells Cody, I've created this monster. Like I said, no duh, Sherlock, obviously. And he says, of course, Rollins says, I'm the only one who knows his weakness. Further showing us that Seth knows that he's the cause for this. He's the cause for why Roman has become who he's become. Why Roman became the guy that he is now. And of course, at WrestleMania 40, Seth Rollins even sacrificed everything in his being just to make sure that Roman lost. He sacrificed the title, his body being broken and banged up, even receiving a chair shot from Roman. So Roman got his payback with that. Even though he lost the title, I was glad to see him do that at least. And all that just so he can see Roman lose everything that he's worked hard for. Even though he's the cause for this, he's the Frankenstein that created this monster that we know. And so if you know that you're the cause for this, how do you have the nerve to separate your top and bottom lip and call Roman a tyrant? Well, you know that blood is on your hands. This wouldn't even be a conversation had you not, become the Judas of the Shield. It's just like, and more so, I think it's more so with this pattern of Seth, like constantly going after Roman, trying to destroy everything that he's worked for. To be quite honest, I feel like there's a lot of jealousy with that too. Because of the fact that since Seth claims, that this is, that Roman's a creation of his and things like that. Mr. Architect of the Shield and all, everything like that. It's funny how, if this is what you created, it's funny how your creation has surpassed you. If you're Mr. The Shield Architect, if you will, it's funny how, how a guy that you're responsible for, for sort of creating, if you will, whatever, his career ends up surpassing yours, right? And Roman has one of the absolute greatest title reigns, one of the most intriguing, money drawing, ratings drawing title reigns that we will ever see in a long time. The business exploded, like never before in a long time when everything was on Roman's shoulders, right? The numbers speak for themselves. The quality of matches speak for themselves. Roman is one of the greatest top 5 WWE champions of all time, one of the best double champions of all time. If anything, his resume speaks for itself, right? But Seth Rollins can't say that. Seth wishes that he had the success that Roman. Even though Seth has his own success, don't get me wrong, he's a future Hall of Famer in his own right, two-time Hall of Famer, two-time Hall of Famer. Both him and Ambrose are going to be two-time Hall of Famers. Ambrose/Moxley, right? But Roman's going to be a three-time Hall of Famer. You know, his own career, the Shield, and the Bloodline. So he's going to have 3 inductions. One for the Shield, one for the Bloodline, and one for himself. You know, and Roman has constantly been in the main event of WrestleMania. Of course, people want to say booking, but at the same time, Roman is a draw. Clearly he's worked hard enough, and he's marketable enough. He's cool enough. To be on the marquee. He's someone that as soon as you show his face, that's automatic money being printed. And I think Seth Rollins is jealous of that. Seth, it eats him up inside that he is not in the position that Roman is in. It eats him up inside that as impressive as his career, as his resume is, Roman is just on a whole different level than him. That Roman is the face of this generation. That Roman is the franchise player that WWE has. That even through his trials and tribulations, and those early experiments where where they just threw him into lines, then even though he was as green as grass, eventually Roman improved. Eventually Roman, developed and became who he is now. And this OTC is just the face version of his earlier tribal chief character, right? And so and like I said, Roman has made his mark. He is firmly, planted his flag in wrestling history. Where John Cena is out here making a claim, making Roman's cases to go. I mean, you can argue that all you want to. My estimation, I'll say Austin and The Rock, but but at the same time, seen to bring up those numbers. I mean, and also like I said, from Cena's opinion, that carries a lot of weight. Cena's endorsement carries a whole lot of weight. To the point where even when Sports Illustrated did their top 20 WWE greatest wrestlers list, which I talked about before, the fact that Roman made the top 5. That's an honor. That's a badge of honor. Seth didn't even make the list at all. His wife made the list before him. And so, clearly Seth is not him. He is not, everything that that he dreams and imagines himself to be. As much as he wants to be, Shawn Michaels 2.0 so bad, that ain't you. You ain't him. Great in the ring in his own aspect, workhorse and everything like that. But when it comes to pinning the company on your shoulders, Rollins never putting those type of numbers. He never ever drew that type of number. He never brought in that type of demand, that type of anticipation, that type of excitement. To the point, where merchandise was just selling left and right. This Bloodline merchandise, no matter what, whether it's head of the table, tribal chief, whatever. Like I said, that stuff is automatic money. And of course, Seth is, sort of like reinventing himself as Seth freaking Rollins, this mix up of David Bowie, Elton John, and Bootsy Collins, whatever the case is, whatever we call himself. Cool, but at the same time, you ain't as in demand as Roman. Plain and simple. I know I've taken up a lot of time talking about that, but I just had to get that off my chest. So yeah, that just infuriated me right there. But anyway, other than that, like I said, Bronson Reed defeated Seth Rollins by pinfall, and as the 5th member of the Bloodline, as the OGs are still waiting for number 5. Then of course we have Rey Mysterio and Zelina Vega defeat Chad Gable and Ivy Nile by pinfall after Rey hit Chad with 619. course, rest in peace to Rey Mysterio's dad. He lost his dad on this past Monday, this past weekend or whatever. And Rey posted on IG. So condolences, thoughts, and prayers to his family. And of course, we see Gunther speak with Luke and Kaiser backstage, telling Kaiser that he doesn't have to speak for him, and he needs to speak for himself and make his own name and be his own man. And then, of course, afterwards, he saw Damian Priest in the backstage and tried to put him in a sleeper, but Damian escaped and slammed Gunther into the equipment, kicked him in the stomach, and he's saying that that Gunther may be a general in the ring, but Damian himself is the king of the streets. And so it's just like, the Wolverine general stuff, like when it comes to that ain't gonna fly. Damian is letting his inner Bronx side come all the way out, right? And of course, we have the Intercontinental Championship match. Braun Breaker defeats Sheamus by disqualification. The War Raiders defeat Dominic Mysterio and Carlito by pinfall after him in the War Machine. And we have Bo Dallas video airs with Dallas saying that Miz betrayed the YF6 last week. And of course, it said that the Miz was damned himself. And of course, we said Bo Dallas doing tribute to his brother Bray Wyatt. Like in terms of that. And so of course, pretty much, yeah, that's pretty much seals the deal when it comes to Monday Night Raw. And I didn't mean to go off on that tangent, that tirade, but that was a whole lot right there. You know what I mean? That in and of itself, that the whole like the whole Seth and Roman thing, that just like I said, that was a trigger right there. Sorry, that was, I don't have to apologize, but that was a trigger right there. Just like, yeah, whatever. But anyway, next up we have the results for NXT. Of course, we have the Iron Survivor qualifier match with Nathan Frazier versus Eddie Thorpe, and of course the winner by way of pinfall to advance in the Iron Survivor Challenge was Nathan Frazier. Then, of course, after that, it's when the tag team division popped the ball over the ring in the arena to watch. So, of course, when Axiom got knocked down outside, Frazier jumped on everybody, and of course, after Nathan Frazier won, after Axiom left, that's why all those tag teams just start brawling with each other. And of course, we see with the Iron Survivor qualifier match, we have Stephanie Valkyria versus Jada Parker. A great match, and Jada has vastly improved, by leaps and bounds. And of course, clearly, the cameraman, knew what he was doing with a certain shot of Miss Parker, if you will, when Stephanie Valkyria, was ready to do, was ready to do a certain move on her. And of course, like I said, the cameraman definitely understood that assignment. But yeah, of course, Jada Parker pushed Stephanie to her limit. And of course, Lola Vice came out as a distraction, and this allowed the Primera to hit, of course, Ms. Valkyria to hit the package neck breaker for the win. It was definitely a nice showcase for Stephanie, who definitely effortlessly looked like she belonged next to one of NXT's more established stars in the rise, if you will. As I said before, Jada's improved by leaps and bounds, especially after stepping up to Roxanne Perez. I think that match with Roxanne really brought the best out of her. And of course, this match is significantly better than their match with Lola. But yeah, of course, like I said, of course, Stephanie Valkyria, advancing the Iron Survivor Challenge. I definitely want to see Jada Parker in there. And of course, we see Roxanne, of course, a lot. But yeah. Anyway, next up, we see Roxanne Perez on vacation, shooting a video, a video on Twitter X, of course, to the fans. And it's just somehow she's just being on vacation where everybody just beats each other up or whatever. And then Sol Ruka shows up in the video, like a photo bomb type of thing, if you will. And then next we have Tony D'Angelo with Adriana Rizzo versus Brooks Jensen with Shawn Spears. The winner of this match, Tony D'Angelo, by way of pinfall. And we clearly see that the seeds have been planted for Shawn Spears versus Tony D'Angelo match, feud. So as far as that, and apparently been moving on from Obafemi, if you will. Then we have Ashanti the Adonis and Carmen Petrovic versus Deion Lennox and Brett Reese. Winners of this match, Carmen Petrovic and Ashanti the Adonis. So love angle thing, whatever. Yeah, okay, I'm next up. All right, cool, whatever. Just nothing right on about, nothing to see. Next up, we have Zarya versus Ren Sinclair. The Iron Survivor Challenge. The winner of this match by pinfall, Zarya. Next up, we have Tam Paxton answering the open challenge to Fallon Henley. And so of course, Fatal Influence delivered a warning to the women's division that no one can match them. Fallon Henley offered an open challenge for the Women's North American Championship. And this is where chaos started to break out in the suit. When we saw Metaphor come out, Lash Legend, of course, shut everything down with the interruption. Saying that the Metaphor was looking to challenge Fatal Influence and go after that title, and only for not only that, but of course, the Metaphor was not alone. We saw Adriana Rizzo and Nikita Lyons come out. Of course, Nikita with no knees out here saying that the Lash had a chance. Needs to go to the back of the line. Like, come on now, very on brand for Nikita to say that. Knowing who she goes for. But anyway, that's another story. Of course, Nikita with no knees, who's got 2 ACLs that are held together by duct tape and paper clips and aluminum foil. Like if anything, she's the last one to say anything right now. And yeah, that's I don't even get it when it comes to Nikita right now. But yeah, she has regressed, shown no improvement, not regress altogether. But yeah, anyway, other than that, like I said, of course, Tam Paxton was the one to attack Fallon Henley from behind. It was a great way to immediately sell the Women's North American Championship scene. It's very effective similarly effective to the best moment in Wesley's North American Championship reign himself. Of course, Fallon Henley has a lot of work to do in order to earn that prestige as a champion. But Tam Paxton is definitely a great challenge for next week. Next up, we have the number 1 contenders match. Main event, Rich Holland versus Andre Chase. That if Andre Chase loses, then Chase U would be gone forever. So Chase U was on the line with these vignettes. What Andre Chase talks about how much he appreciates Chase U. He was known to be a very hard leader. And showed all these other clips where Andre was cussing out his students and things like that, and just throwing F-bombs left and right. But at the same time, you want to say, talk about how much he loved and all that type of stuff. But of course, like I see, this is where, the end of the road, if you will. And of course, we saw Rich Holland grab a steel chair to distract the referee. Then used the opportunity to low blow Andre Chase hit the Redeemer. And of course, however, Duke Hudson, of course, pulled the ref out the ring after Rich Holland sent Duke Hudson through the stage. Just smashed him through the stage. Riley Osborne jumped on the bridge, and of course, Rich Holland grabbed Osborne and threw him onto the concrete. And of course, this motivated Andre Chase even more as he stomped Holland to the mat, but it wasn't enough. As Rich Holland delivers a second Redeemer and defeats Andre Chase, thus ending Chase U. And the silence that was in NXT was unbelievable. It was almost as silent as the New Orleans Superdome was when Brock Lesnar ended Undertaker's streak. The way they treated it like that in NXT, that's great storytelling. Even though Chase and Ridge don't really have the best chemistry, but it was the emotion of the crowd that really carried this match. Of course, this is the final chapter of Chase U, and of course, they'll never truly allowed to really have the biggest success, but at the same time, this is a great way to make Rich Holland NXT's top villain. This definitely solidified that, certainly if nothing else, and but yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, like I said, as far as that, it was certainly, like I said, if anything, it was certainly a great way to solidify Rich Holland's case as. So I got she's not on tonight. The Country Music Awards instead. But yeah, anyway, this was a great way to solidify Rich Holland as it's pretty much the main NXT villain. For him to single-handedly disband the entire group like that, that's a whole lot of power, And we see a vignette also of Ethan Page talking about being in the Iron Survivor Challenge Deadline, wanting to contend for the NXT Championship. As far as I'm concerned, we need to just move Ethan Page as far away from Triple Williams as possible, And also, another thing that happened in NXT was even with that promo, that vignette, Axiom tells Nathan Frazier, he's saying, talking about how he wasn't worried about Ethan Page because he challenged Ethan, or at least, of course, at least next week he's going to face Ethan Page on NXT. So he's very much confident. But yeah, of course the main thing coming out of NXT was the breakup of Chase U, the end of an era. So you go RP Chase U, and so also, as I mentioned, also another thing is one of the talking points. I got to bring this up, especially since probably going to be talking about this recently. It was about the reports of the idea of a returning Brock Lesnar. I mentioned before, just out of the sake of wanting to see him face Gunther, as well as someone like Jacob Fatu, just those type of matchups. But for the time being, it's best to keep Brock on low profile just because of that stench that's still attached to his name, because federal investigation is still going on. And even though initially Brock's supposed to be like a marquee attraction, but outside of facing Gunther, who else is there? Because I don't know if he's going to really pass the torch to no Braun Breaker. But with the way that they built, remember Gresh mentioned this before, with the way that they built like Braun Breaker, Obafemi, even Jacob Fatu, you can pretty much say that that WWE is strategically, using, guys like that as powerhouses to replace what Brock Lesnar originally brought to the table. So in essence, you pretty much say that you could effectively say that Lesnar has that they found people to replace Lesnar. When you look at Braun Breaker and his his rise from NXT and just being a powerhouse with them strapping the rocket on his back, and also just with certain similar mannerisms comparable to Brock Lesnar with the way he was able to jump, jump from the floor to the apron for his entrance and things like that, and with his spear and just his freakish, scary athleticism. They could very well, if they wanted to, give him a 2002, Brock Lesnar type of run, 2002, 2003 Brock Lesnar kind of run. And so, so clearly, like I say, he's got the rocket on his back to to be able to have that kind of success, and so, of course, when you talk about someone who's a bulldozer, who's an intimidator, like I said, not only him, but also even with Jacob, like I said, not only Braun Breaker, but Jacob Fatu, and even NXT when it comes to Obafemi. So they look for different, different pieces, and and anybody who has those type of similarities to fill that void. So with that right now, and and just with with his that stench tied to his name, yeah, it's best to really kind of keep him on the shelf. as much as I want to see Brock, you could afford to, kind of have him sit this one out for right now. But yeah, that pretty much does it for, pretty much does it, for this week's episode of the Victorious Ones podcast, and also this past Sunday, my church celebrated their 107th anniversary. My pastor and First Lady, they celebrated their 35th anniversary as as far as leading our church. So of course my pastor, Pastor First Lady celebrated their own 35th anniversary, and of course it was great to see the tributes that poured out. You know what I mean? So of course I definitely want to add that there. And so shout out to Pastor Jenkins and First Lady Trina. So of course as far as that, and but yeah, pretty much as far as that, all right then. So of course, my word of wisdom is that nobody can dig up what God has forgotten. When God erases our sin and remembers our, when God erases my sin, and forgets about it and remembers it no more, there's no way that anyone else can dig that up. So when God erases your sin and gives you a new start, gives you a new identity, there's nothing that anyone else can bring up. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. There's no condemnation to there's no condemnation to you. Because of the fact that, like I said, like when you confess, and like I said, my word of wisdom is that is that when God, like I said, removes your sin, then then nobody can dig that up. There's nothing anybody can do to dig up your past and make you feel guilty. Because that was your past, and once you've repented, then then it's null and void. So that's my word of wisdom, and of course, as far as birthdays, I also want to mention that of course, Amar Rashad's birthday was November 19th, as he turns 75. Future turns 41 on November 20th. Michael Irvin, Michael Strahan turns Michael Strahan turns 53 on November 21st. Troy Aikman turns 58 on November 21st. Earl the Pearl turns 80 on November 21st. The Bella Twins turn 41 November 21st, and also I mentioned Miss Elizabeth will turn 64 on November 19th. Next, Miss Elizabeth, 64 on November 19th. And Mom Shad turns 75. Future turns 41. Of course, November 21st, Troy Aikman turns 58. Michael Strahan turns 53. Earl the Pearl Monroe, NBA legend, turns 80. The Bella Twins turn 41. King Ricky Jr. turns 55 on November 21st. And Chris Carter turns 59 on November 25th. So that's my word of wisdom, and those are my birthdays. And of course, you are victorious because great is He that's in you, think that's in the world. We put God in first place. You don't have to worry about being in last place. Please make sure to listen to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and of course, please make sure to watch YouTube as well. And of course, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. And may this day be the very best day of your life. Thank you very much.